ST2, the first of the three spirits. When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark that looking out of bed he could scarcely distinguish the transparent window from the upper walls of his chamber. He was endeavoring to pierce the darkness with his ferret eyes, when the chimes of a neighboring church struck the 4 quarters. So he listened for the hour. To his great astonishment, the heavy bell went on from 6 to 7, and 7 to 8, and regularly up to 12, then stopped. 12. It was past 2 when he went to bed. The clock was wrong. An icicle must have got into the wax. 12. He touched the spring of his repeater to correct this most preposterous clock. Its rapid little pulse beat 12, and stopped. "Why, isn't possible," said Scrooge, "that I can have slipped through a whole day and find to another night. It isn't possible that anything has happened to the sun, and this is 12 at noon." The idea being an alarming one, he scrambled out of bed and groped his way to the window. He was obliged to rub the frost off with the sleeve of his dressing gown before he could see anything, and could see very little then. All he could make out was that it was still very foggy and extremely cold, and that there was no noise of people running to and fro and making a great stir, as there unquestionably would have been if night had beaten off bright day and taken possession of the world. This was a great relief because 3 days after sight of this fast of exchange pay to Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge of his order, and so forth, would have become a mere United States security if there were no days to count by. Scrooge went to bed again and thought and thought and thought it over and over and over, and could make nothing of it. The more he thought, the more perplexed he was, and the more he endeavored not to think, the more he thought. But his ghost bothered him exceedingly. Every time he resolved within himself, after mature inquiry, that it was all a dream, his mind flew back again like a strong spring released to its first pursuit, and presented the same problem to be walked or flew. Was it a dream or not? Scrooge lay in this state until the chime had gone 3 quarters more, when he remembered on a sudden that the ghost had warned him of the visitation when the bell tolled 1. He resolved to lie awake until the hour was past, and considered that he could no more go to sleep than to go heaven. This was perhaps the wisest resolution in his power. The coat was so long that he was more than once convinced he must have sunk into a doze unconsciously and missed the clock. At length, it broke upon his listening ear. Ding dong. "Quarter past," said Scrooge, pounding. "Ding dong. Half past," said Scrooge. "Ding dong." "I'll cut to it," said Scrooge. Ding dong. "The hour itself," said Scrooge, triumphantly, "and nothing else." He spoke before the hour bell sounded, which it now did with deep, dull, hollow, melancholy one. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside utterly by a hand. Not the curtains at his feet, nor the curtains at his back, but those to which his face was addressed. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge, starting up into a half recumbent attitude, found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them. As close to it as I am now to you, and I am standing in the spirit at your elbow, was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium, which gave him the appearance of having recoiled from the view, and being diminished to a child's proportions. Its hair, which hung about his neck and down his back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms are very long and muscular, the hands the same, as if a spoiled of uncommon strength. Its legs and feet, most delicately formed, were, like those of the members of bear. It wore a tunic of the purest white, and round its waist was bound a lustrous belt, the shape of which was beautiful. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand, and a singular contradiction of that wintry emblem, had its dress trimmed with summer flowers. But the strangest thing about it was the form. The crown of its head was sprung a bright clear dot of light, by which all this was visible, and which was doubtless the occasion of its using, in its duller moments, a great extinguisher for a cap, which it now held under its arm. Even this, though, when Scrooge looked at it with increasing steadiness, was not its strangest quality, for as both sparkled and glittered now in one part and now in another, and what was light one instant and another time was dark, so the figure itself fluctuated in its distinctness, bigger now within, with one arm, now with one leg, now with 20 legs, now a pair of legs without a head, now a head without a body, with the solving parts. No wonder would be visible in the depths, them within, the melted away, and the very wonder of this, it would be itself again, distinct and clear as ever. Are you the spirit, sire? His coming was foretold to me, asked Scrooge. I am. The voice was soft and gentle, singularly low, as if instead of being so close beside him, it were at a distance. Who and what are you? Scrooge demanded. I am the ghost of Christmas past. Long past, inquired Scrooge, with observant of this jewelfish statue. No, your past. Perhaps Scrooge could not have told anybody why, if anybody could have asked him, but he had a special desire to see the spirit in his cap, and begged him to be covered. What? Exclaimed the ghost. It is so soon put out with what 3 hands the night I give. Is it not enough that you are one of those whose passions made this cap, and forced me through all trains of years to weigh it low upon my brow? Scrooge reverently disclaimed all intention to offend or any knowledge of having wilfully monitored the spirit at any period of his life. He then made bold to inquire what business brought him there. Your welfare, said the ghost. Scrooge expressed himself much obliged, but could not help thinking that a night of unbroken rest would have been more conducive to the end. The spirit master had heard him thinking, for it said immediately, Your reclamation, then, take heed. It put out a strong hand as he spoke and clasped him gently by the arm. Rise and walk with me. It would have been in vain for Scrooge to plead that the weather and the hour were not adapted to pedestrian purposes. The bed was warm, and the thermometer a long way below freezing. That He was clad but lightly in his slippers, dressing gown, and nightcap, and that he held cold upon him at this time a grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. He rose, but finding that the spirit's maid towards the window, clasped his robe in supplication. "I am a mortal," Scrooge remonstrated, "and liable to fall. Bear about a touch of my hand there," said the spirit, laying it upon his heart, "and you shall be upheld with more than this." As the words are spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road, with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, though it was a clear, cold winter day, with snow upon the ground. "Go to heaven," said Scrooge, clasping his hands together as he looked about him. "I was bred in this place. I was a boy there." The spirit gazed upon him mildly. Its gentle touch, though it had been light and instantaneous, appeared still present to the old man's sense of feeling. He was conscious of 1,000 odors floating in the air, each one connected with 1,000 thoughts and hopes and joys and cares long, long forgotten. "Your lip is trembling," said the ghost. "And what is that upon your cheek?" Scrooge muttered, with an unusual cackling in his voice, that it was a pimple, and begged the ghost to lead him where he would. "You recollect the way?" inquired the spirit. "Remember it?" cried Scrooge as a favor. "I could walk it blindfold." "Strangely have forgotten it for so many years," observed the ghost. "Let us go on." They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate, post, and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and winding river. Some shaggy ponies now were seen trotting towards them, the boys upon their backs, who called to other boys, in country gigs and carts driven by farmers. All these boys were in great spirits, and shouted to each other until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air loved to hear it. "There are but shadows of the things that ye have seen," said the ghost. then have no consciousness of us. The jocund travelers came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named them every one. What was, he rejoiced beyond all bounds to see them. Why did his cold eye glisten, and his heart leap out as they went past? Why was he filled with gladness when he heard them give each other Merry Christmas? As they parted at crossroads and byways through their several homes. What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? Out upon Merry Christmas, what good had it ever done to him? The school is not quite deserted, said the ghost. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still. Scrooge said he knew it, and he sobbed.